Opinions expressed on the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of alltalkradio.net.
Mother Nature has the answer to all the things we need. It is in the purest waters which flow out to the sea. You will find it on the prairies, in the rich and fertile lands, and you will find abundance upon the desert sands. As we seek the magic potion that will help regain our youth, the chemistry of progress and its self-polluted truth had crept into our lives, infecting everything in sight. It took 100 years, but we finally got it right. So
welcome everyone. This is our regular Tuesday night wonderful radio show, and I am really excited to be here this evening with everyone, because we have two phenomenal women that are going to be with us tonight. And we're going to be talking about, seriously, one of my favorite subjects, and that's really dealing with emotions and really moving through different emotions, beliefs, blocks, and getting that kind of clarity. And I had the good fortune to meet Sheila the other day, and I was just amazed, because I think you're really, truly amazing. You really are.
Oh, thank you.
And she has all of this other stuff that we're going to talk about, Sheila Sterling. But I want to get right into the show, because I really don't want to take away from what people are really tuned into. And we go through so many things emotionally that affect our health, our diets, and so forth. And I have this belief that an event will happen, right? And we think we're upset about that event. But in reality, it's really triggers something from an emotional trauma that we may have experienced, that even sometimes that we think that we've dealt with, that we haven't dealt with. Now, is that true? Is that a reality, or am I just making that up?
That's absolutely true. Actually, what happens, sometimes people come to me and they express something, and I'll say, great. And they're like, no, you don't get it. This terrible thing is happening. I'm like, no, that's wonderful. Because until your whole self is ready, willing, and able to deal with it, it'll be hidden. And when you are ready, a catalyst will come up. And how that happens is usually most of these traumas are actually put on the cells by the time most people are even age 2.
Okay.
It's a defense mechanism, and thank goodness we all have that, because it keeps us vibrant and alive in our young years, fitting in. And so what happens is when the body doesn't know what to do, the age of reason is 7.
Okay.
And it's a clinical fact that if you raise your voice to a child at the age of 4 or less, it changes their brain chemistry forever. So if you think about that, and you think about how many times you were yelled, no, or you can't do that, or your brother could do that, but it can be just a very small thing. But what happens is we have 100 trillion cells in the body, and when the body can't deal with it at a young age, it gets sort of stored. We store everything anyway. We're like giant recording machines. But it stores, and what happens is it makes like a little covering over each and every cell, because every cell communicates with every other cell. That's why you have cellular memory. And so what happens is when that happens, it shifts your perception just a little bit. But over the years, as all of these little things build up, your perception of life is shifted.
Okay.
And after all, our life is our perception of life, but that's where a lot of people come and they say, well, gee, I was an abused child, and here I ended up marrying somebody who did the same thing. How is that possible?
Right.
Well, that's how it's possible, because regardless of what the source figures did, it doesn't matter. As a very young child, you will equate that with love. So chances are, unless you deal with it, unless you actually do something about it and go after it, sooner or later, if you don't deal with it, it will deal with you, as you know. But so that's what happens, is the trauma gets put on the cells, and there are methods and ways that you need to release the trauma of all 100 trillion cells, and that sounds like a huge feat.
Right.
Sometimes it happens on its own.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to go after it, and there are methods that are very, very effective. So, but that's what happens until the body is ready, willing, and able
Right.
to heal that. And I mean at a core level,
Right.
on a cellular level. You'll just go on about things like everything's all right for a while, but that's also where patterns come from.
Okay. So what would be some of the methods that you would recommend or people come to you for? Because it sounds it sounds enormous.
It does sound enormous. Well, I actually have an 8-hour workshop called Intentional Wellness, but I have a
Okay.
3-day retreat, the Vibrant Life Retreat. And actually, the method that I use is one that I developed myself.
Okay.
It's called ORT, Opportunity Retrieval, where we actually, I teach the method, and I do it with you because I want people to be able to learn it so they can do it on their own. And once you do it once you have that aha moment and everything unravels for this one instant or whatever it may be, you can get back there.
Okay.
You know what it feels like, and you can get back there, and you actually can start to unravel things before they happen. In other words, you'll get little red flags where before you wouldn't have seen them at all.
Okay.
It would have seemed perfectly normal.
Normal,
but
right,
Yeah,
right.
and so all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, this looks different. I'm seeing a red flag, and so it's wonderful. I mean, emotional clarity is very, very important for any kind of healing.
Well, what's amazing to me, okay, now this is kind of off the subject, but what's really amazing to me is that when you look at most therapy and therapists, because I've had the good fortune to spend lots of time in therapy, right? But they keep you coming back. They're like, well, you got to come back next week. You got to come back next week.
Right.
And we're going to go deeper and deeper and come back next week. What you just described to me is amazing because it's almost like what you're saying is that you're putting the person back in control of their own life and their own destiny, so they can now navigate for themselves.
Well, that's very true. And actually, we're asking them to take responsibility. And we've come to an age where I hope more people will be taking responsibility for their health and wellness. Unfortunately, when you do that kind of therapy, you're the best therapist is the therapist that maybe sees you 3 or 4 times. And then you don't need them anymore. It's not good for the pocketbook, but that's a true healer. That's a
Right.
true therapist. And I mean, that's my belief system. And if we're really helping to raise the consciousness of humanity, and if we really want people to get it, that's what we have to do. That's what has to be done.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so now I'm just going through life, right? And different things are happening. And I want to get this thing that we call emotional clarity. I just like, because sometimes your emotions just get all over the place. And especially when you're dealing with things like, addictions and all kinds of different things that go on, and you're trying to fill that empty hole that you feel and you don't quite know what it is. How do I get to that clarity? What is it that you would suggest?
well, I say sometimes it can take a long time, but it happens in an instant. So, I mean, a lot of people say, well, I read all the books. I know because I read the book. It's more than reading the books. Knowing is not enough. You actually have to do something. You have to take action in order to
Right.
change something. So, I would recommend, come to my workshops or come to my.
Okay.
Okay, but there's a lot of things out there. There are other methods, and I'm sure there's a lot of success stories. I personally feel that all true healing happens in the quantum field, outside time and space. That's the only way you can get to 100 trillion cells. I've seen it again and again, and I truly believe that when you do that, it heals along the timeline. And I've seen it. In one of the workshops, there was a girl sitting in the front, I'll never forget, and she had this huge transformation. And at the end of the workshop, everybody said, who's that girl in the front?
Wow.
And I'm like, she's been sitting here for 8 hours. She's been here all day. And they were like upset, because we do like a closing circle.
Right.
And they were like, no, she has not been here. And I'm like, no, really, she's been here. Because the largest organ is what? It's your skin. And when trauma comes off of your cells,
Wow.
you know what changes?
Your skin.
Your skin. It just can change your whole face. And she actually, about 4 months after the workshop, called me, and she was kind of in a panic. She says, can I take you to lunch? I've got to talk to you about something. And what had happened is she had been in like an 8-year feud with her sister.
Okay.
They hadn't spoken. It was a terrible thing. The whole family was broken apart. And she said out of the blue, 2 weeks after the workshop, that the sister called her and was very civil. She didn't know what to do. And I said, well, love her.
Mm-hmm.
I said, because what happens is like sound waves. I mean, we are really all connected. And like sound waves, when this happens, your frequency, your life force, everything is kind of comes up. So your perspective then is shifted.
Okay.
And I truly believe that it happens all the way back and all the way forward. So it's going to affect people around you whether you know it or not. I mean, her sister may not know any. Her sister just might have, awakened one day and said, I wonder how she's doing. I think I'm going to give her a call.
Right.
So.
So let me so for people who may want to reach you, I want them to be able to get to your website. Could you give us your website for them to reach you?
Oh, sure. It is truelife-solutions.com. That's TRUELIFE-solutions, plural, .com.
Thank you. Because I think one of the other things that we were talking about, and I just want to show this up here, because I think as we were talking earlier, because I'm always looking for ways to get that kind of emotional clarity, get something. And so I saw you came with all these wonderful tools, which I want to show everybody before we leave.
You.
But I did want to really talk about this one based on what we were talking about today. So tell us about the sounds of the soul.
Well, Sounds of the Soul actually was a channel, and I know you don't know me very well. I'm somebody who has been across the veil a couple of times. And I was in a terrible accident in '99, and anyway, sustained traumatic head injuries, all kinds of stuff. But I healed myself. I'm 100%. And this was actually a channel. It was a gift from the angels. I use it when I do my cellular patterning because the sounds and the tones on this CD, they're doing something. I never had it mastered because there are some tones in there that neither myself or the person who was actually doing the notes, neither one of us put in there. So music, of course, is a universal language, and because we are sound and frequency, we are made up of sound and frequency and light, but the sounds and the frequencies in this CD can absolutely shift. I tell people, well, put it on when you're going to bed. Do not listen to this in your car. Okay, that would be a bad
not
thing.
a good thing. Okay.
So, but when you're going to bed, and especially if you don't feel well, just close your eyes and see yourself running on a beach, or see yourself, swimming in a river, whatever it is that you want to do, that you want to be able to do, and sometimes people call me and say, I just started crying when I listened to this. And I'm like, well, that's because it opened your heart.
Okay.
And it's not a bad thing. It's like you're raining, and that's a good thing because that's how the body actually releases trauma, is through the eyes. We are so miraculous, we were created with all these little vents so we could let stuff out that isn't, in our highest good anymore.
Well, right. So we can move through it. So tell us a little bit about the Love and Illusion.
Yes, Love and Illusion. This is a book, actually, a relationship book. It did win finalist for the best self-help relationship book in the country for 2010.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm very proud of that. It says how to recognize, recover from, and avoid a destructive relationship. It's a little bit about sociopathic behavior in relationships, and it really should be a sitcom. But it's different because most books on this subject really demonize people, and this does not, because it's really about healing. If you're demonizing and you're invested and you're putting all of this energy into it, well, you're not healing. When you can embrace it and say, I wish you well, when the charge is completely off of it, then you know that you're healed. And so this book is really about getting your joy back. But there's a lot of science in there. There's 4 case histories, and one of them is my own.
Wow,
and
I'm going to read that just so I can find out more about you.
Oh, okay. It's very revealing.
All right. Okay, so then tell me a little bit about Intentional Wellness.
Now, the Intentional Wellness book actually follows the all-day seminar. And the truth is that I wrote this book because the Intentional Wellness Seminar was a download. It was a channel. And I thought, how am I ever going to remember this? And seriously, I just sat down and wrote it.
Wow.
So that it's really, if you read that, you know what goes on in the all-day seminar. But it's actually my new book coming out that I'm very, very excited about. The Anatomy of Healing and Wellness, because this ties it all together. My Vibrant Life Protocol, it has everything in it. All the different pieces of the puzzle, not only, of course, the emotional, but the physical, using food as medicine, what herbs are good for what, and even what tests and things as you move from 30 to 40 to whatever the stage may be, things you must know. My motto is staying 30 until you're 90. That's one of my taglines, and I believe we can all do it.
Okay, I'm going to 120 like I showed with you earlier.
Yeah.
I'm going 120.
Absolutely.
Now, I know one of the things, I know we're getting close to I could just sit here and talk to you all day because you're just
Thank
amazing.
you.
But I want you to tell us about, you were talking about a 2-day winter event that you have that's coming up.
Yes.
So tell us about that, and what can we expect?
Thank you. I'm one of the producers of the Winter Solstice event, and it's a big expo. It's all about art and music. We have probably 50 to 75 exhibitors. I'll be doing a big solstice on the roof of the Alexis Hotel.
Wow.
I'll be doing a ceremony for the winter solstice. It's a 2-day event, and it's free to the public. It's absolutely a wonderful event, and it will be December 20th and the 21st, and it'll be held at the Alexis Park Hotel and Suites.
Now, is there room for people who want to participate, like vendors or anything? Is there any, should they contact you?
Absolutely. Well, you can contact me through my email. You go to the website, or just Sheila Z, like zoo, at truelife-solutions.com. Yes, actually, we just opened today. We just opened the exhibitor, the format today. So, yes.
Well, we'll definitely get the word out here, because I know there's lots of people that would love to participate in that. So, any closing words that you like to share with us, your thoughts or anything before you leave us? I hate to see you go, but I know you got a jam schedule and different things.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure.
And my closing thoughts are just that, just remember that you are the one you've been waiting for, that we are all so miraculous, and that it's okay. Wherever you are right now, you're in divine timing. And if there are challenges that you have, know that life is a wiggle, not a struggle. And if something is happening to push you like a catalyst, take a deep breath and just close your eyes, because everything in the universe is happening for you, not to you. That's another one of my lines. So.
Fantastic. Well, you have a lot of them. Thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate you spending your time with us, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Because I know you have a lot more to do to get prepared for your 2-day event, and I'm looking forward to going through all of this information with you.
Excellent. And thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was fun. And now we're going to move into the next phase of our wonderful evening. And before we do, I just want to take a moment to let you know that there are a variety of different things that we want to talk about as we go through our show. And one of them is what products that we can use that would be effective for you as you're going through this healing process. And our flagship product is our Optimum Detox, which you'll see at zenusglobalhealth.com, which is a product that we'll talk about a little bit more as we get to the end of the show. But right now, what I'd like to do is welcome in our second wonderful guest of this evening, and known here affectionately as Dr. D, and because she is amazing and has done amazing work over the last few years. And just today, before we got started, she took me through an exercise. And I have to tell you, I'm one of those people who've experienced everything. When I moved here from the East Coast and I moved to California, if whatever they said it was, I was going for it. I don't care if it was timeline therapy, if it was NLP, or if they had an event, or recirculate, whatever it was, I was going. So I experienced a lot of things, and I have to tell you, it was an exciting afternoon when we went through the imagination. What did you call that process again? It was
It's a tracing process
tracing.
to find the cause of the problem.
it was amazing. Oh, okay. It was an amazing process that going through it was actually altered my being. So tell us a little bit more about what you do. I mean, you have these wonderful 5 keys that help you overcome emotional challenges. And as I was going through the 5 keys, the one that hit me, and I'm not going to do these in order, so I hope you don't mind, because I'm just going to do it in the order that it hit me. And the one that hit me was the power of the mind and healing. So talk to us about the 5 keys, how you came about all this stuff, and how does it work? How does it really get you to overcome these emotional things that get in your way?
Well, the power of the mind in healing was the subject of my PhD dissertation.
Oh.
And I studied placebo effect and multiple personality. That was fascinating to me.
Okay.
The mind's been very interesting to me since I was a teenager. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. I thought lobotomies were in fashion at the time.
Right.
So I thought if we could help all these people, you just cut a little part of their brain that they don't need, and everybody will be happy and fulfilled. And, well, it's not that simple.
Okay.
And I think in the end, I'm actually a neurosurgeon, but I don't use a knife. I use imagery and different techniques.
Well, I can tell you, it worked on me, and we didn't have a knife, thank goodness, but it worked on me. So how does that then move into another one of your keys, which you talk about, which is mental fitness training?
Well, I did all the other keys first.
Okay.
Oh, the 5th one is still in development.
Okay.
But I realized that people who were successful in life, whether it was with money, with their career, with their relationship, with their health, they knew how to control their conscious mind. So we need a technique because it's easy to procrastinate.
Yes.
It's easy not to take action.
Yes.
And discipline is not a dirty word. Discipline leads to freedom. And by explaining what you can do with your conscious mind and just doing very simple exercises, you have your conscious mind do what you want instead of having the subconscious take over and tell you, it would be better to just watch a movie. But there are things that you can do to actually make your mind want to do things.
Okay, well, I want to go back to that because I know that through all of the different books and different things that I've read and experienced, right? So they say 90% of what you do is really in your subconscious, right? And 10% is conscious. So all of our actions that we think that we're in control of are generally being controlled by something that may have happened to you ages ago or decades ago. So how do you now get the 10% of the brain to lock in and say, okay, yes, I'm not going to allow this 90% to run me?
Well, I did a chart that's called the anatomy of a destiny, and you start with your results. And if you like the results you have in your life, you do nothing.
Okay,
Most
I like
people
that.
don't like their results. So what do the results come from?
Okay.
Comes from the action you took or the actions you didn't take.
Okay.
And then we go back to the beliefs. Why did you take these actions? Because of the images that was running through your mind and the feelings you had, which came from thoughts, which came from the energy that you were vibrating at. Gets a little complicated, but this energy, these beliefs vibrate at a certain rate and attract what you have in your life. It's like when, you know what an echo is.
Yes.
You go a different place. If you were to scream Randy, it's not going to come back saying George.
Right.
But it comes back Randy. So if you look at the results in your life, it's simply what you are yelling.
Okay.
You're getting the echo. So instead of feeling bad about it and you just look at your life and say, okay, I must have a belief, I must have an energy that's attracting that. So let's find what it is. Let's remove it. We can use a tapping or different techniques. And then move on to what I really want instead of going from all these beliefs that we get when we're very young, from the age of 0 to 6 years old. There is no buffer. Everything we see, we hear, we smell, we put that in our brain. And depending where you grew up, with whom you grew up, then all of a sudden you have some strange beliefs that interfere with your life at the present time.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't realize how much you've been conditioned. And I'm going to tell you a quick story because then I want to bring it back to something else you talked about. But But I remember the first car I bought. I was 30 years old when I bought my first car. I'm 30 years old. Now, I lived in New York City. People say, how could you wait till you're 30? Well, when you live in New York, you don't need a car, right? So I didn't have a car
Yeah.
till I was 30 years old. The car I bought was a Ford. Now, it took me a little while to figure out, why did I buy a Ford? It's like, the only reason I bought a Ford was because my grandfather, who raised me, if you showed up at our house with anything other than a Ford,
Okay,
you
yeah.
would. I mean, it's like they would not let you in. I mean, it was not acceptable, right? But that had nothing to do with me,
Yep.
right? It wasn't like I really liked this car, but I had to buy a Ford, and that's when, and I was 30, and that's when it hit me about the emotional conditioning that we go through. So, tell us. I know one of the other keys is about emotional freedom. So, how do we free ourselves so we don't have to live by this conditioning?
Well, these new techniques, energy psychology, the tapping technique,
Yes.
EFT, it's amazing what it does. I started to study human potential development when I was in my teens, and I learned about EFT. I was in my 40s, and I never found something that was that powerful to remove pain, emotional pain, trauma, addiction, fear, phobias. So if I had known what I was going to be exposed to going to that workshop, I would have gone to the pool, because it's just not possible.
Right.
Then I
right.
experienced it, and then learned more with different teachers, different gurus
Okay.
of the movement, applied it on myself, on my clients, and it's just amazing. Now, unfortunately, the tapping techniques have been trivialized,
Yes.
but there is an art. The technique is very easy. It can be taught in 5 minutes.
Okay.
There is an art behind it where you can go deeper, and I even go deeper with imagery.
Right, like what we did
Because
today.
What we
Right,
did today.
okay.
With the tapping, it would take much longer to get back to a childhood event, as you can lock onto it with imagery very quickly, and then you can use the tapping.
Well, I totally get you, because my energy from before you came in to now is totally in a totally different space. And I know that's a direct result of the work that we did, and we probably didn't spend more than a half hour.
No
Now
problem.
I know that that's also beneficial to me, but also because I've done a lot of work as well. But again, I just think that these processes, that the more that we're open to them, and I love your first key where you talk about vibrant health and perfect weight, because I think the two really go hand in hand together. So talk to us about that first key.
Well, the first key, it's actually the easiest. That's why I put it number one, because you change your food, but it influences the rest of your emotions.
Yes.
We know that, if I eat a pastry or something, because I'm from French origins, once in a while I have a pastry, the next day I'll be depressed. And okay, why am I depressed? Oh, that's simple. I ate sugar. It's going to go. It's going to leave me in a few hours or
Okay.
so. But if it persists and I know I haven't eaten sugar, then there is a deeper issue.
Okay.
But our food is very important. Dr. Lester, I went to several of his workshops, takes care of people who are schizophrenic, who have psychosis, and just change their way of eating, give them some supplements to recover instead of using medication. So food is very powerful. And I had cancer when I was 15 years old. I had surgery every 6 months.
Wow.
And at 18, somebody told me about nutrition, and I tried different approaches and didn't go back to the surgeon. Obviously,
Really?
I'm still here.
Right.
So there's a lot of things I learned, and what I did, I did tests with my body. I
Okay.
would not eat a certain food for 3 weeks, then overdose on it and see what part of my
Happened,
body
okay.
it affected. So I know very quickly, I ate something that's not good for me.
Okay. Well, that's interesting that you would say that that's the easiest part, right? Now, some of the people that I would talk to, right,
Oh, okay.
would say that's the hardest part when you start talking about food. Now, I know for me, I could tell you my emotional condition based on what I'm putting in my mouth.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but how does that become easy? How do you make it become easy when we've been so conditioned and we're so used to, we have habits. We have these habits.
We have
that,
habits, but I think if you go to the core of the habit and why, the medias, I just wrote 2 articles for a French group about Bernet, who did all the marketing for many companies.
Okay.
For instance, women were not used to smoke, but he allied smoking with freedom for women and had the suffragette with a cigarette in their mouth when
Okay.
they were marching. And all of a sudden, it was the in thing.
Mm.
What does women's freedom have to do with cigarettes? Nothing.
Mhm.
It's just a conditioning. It's the same thing, for instance, with McDonald's. You know, it's all these happy people,
Oh,
the
right.
family and the clown and stuff.
Right.
But look at the food.
Right.
So once you start to critically analyze and understand what's going on, what the world is doing to you, I'm part of a rebel. I'm
Okay.
not going to do what I'm forced to do to be sick.
Right.
Say, what is it that's going to make me healthy? So I think education is important.
Yes.
And again, that using the tapping techniques to remove the cravings for certain foods.
Foods, right.
And if you balance your food, you're not going to be craving. I'm studying a new program about weight. So
Okay.
if you have your leptin level that's at the right place, neither too low, neither too high, you're not going to gain fat, you're not going to be hungry, you're not going to have hypoglycemia. If your body burns sugar, you're going to have all these symptoms and you're going to down into disease. If your body burns fat, which
Right.
it's supposed to
To
be, and
bur-
it's
right.
much better, you're not going to put on fat. You're not going to have cravings. You're not going to have hypoglycemia where you have to eat all the time. You're not going to have those sugar craving where you constantly have to have something. You're going to be satisfied for a long time.
Okay. Well, that makes sense to me because I'd love to have that experience. But then I want to talk about your fifth key that we talked about a little bit about today that I thought was really really turned me on because I think it's really what everything is all about, and that's love, life, and miracles. Talk to me about that.
Okay, love. Dr. Lasko did some studies with the Stanford University, and then another institute into what he called the love frequency. I have a pattern there, but he was hooked up to all kind of instruments, the electroencephalogram for your brain, electromyogram for your muscles, and heart rate variability for your heart. And if you're just in a normal state, everything goes at its own speed. When you put yourself in coherence, everything synchronizes. They all go together. When he was in that state, he called it the love frequency.
Okay.
He could heal cancer cells. He could protect bacteria. So you learn to put yourself in that state. And everything is vibration. A
Okay.
belief is a vibration.
Yes.
And my whole thing is when you change your energy, your vibration, you're going to change your destiny.
Okay. So that kind of like changes the belief. So tell me a little bit more about how do you work with people, right? I know you do a variety of different things, and I want to talk about your website because I want people to go experience that as well. But how do you work with people so they could experience an emotional breakthrough? I know I experienced one today, so I know that was part of what you do, but what else do you do to
It
that?
depends what people come from. I do nutrition. For instance, I have a couple of clients in California. The only thing they wanted, and I have a special computer program to find that, is what food specifically they should be eating. One of them had scleroderma, and basically she doesn't have symptoms anymore. She feels much better. The other one had been bitten by sand fleas and has been with chronic fatigue, and she's full of energy now, because we specialized in what food are good for her and not. So some people come just for the nutrition. When I worked in California, I worked with a medical doctor, and he loved to work with the symptoms
Okay.
and did not want to touch emotions.
Right.
So the patients that he referred to me, I worked with imagery, with just the emotion. They were not interested. So, but my passion is to teach people to take care of themselves,
So,
to become independently healthy. I say, I teach people to fish. I don't like to just give them a fish.
okay.
So if they come to see me and we do some tapping, I'm also going to teach them how to do the tapping for themselves. And imagery, I have a whole course that actually it's in French right now. And I have different programs. So people can go on my website, and for those who have no money, I have 30 micro training. They get like every 3 days a
Right.
3-minute training on the 5 keys. There are programs that you can learn yourself. That's home study courses.
Okay.
Or come to my workshops and learn it live.
Well, we're going to go to that. We're going to talk about coming to your workshops because you have one coming up. But before we get to that, give us your website address and tell us some of the things that we could benefit by if we go and visit your site.
Okay, it's Taking Your Life Back Starts Now.
I like that.
.com.
Now!
Taking Your Life Back Starts Now.com.
Come, okay.
And on the first page, you have I have a little video, and you can subscribe to get newsletters and get those micro training. Every 3 days you get a micro training. You're going to learn about nutrition. You're going to learn about different mind fitness training.
Okay.
You're going to learn about the tapping and different things like that. There are many articles also, and you keep up to date when I give workshops around here.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm blown away, first of all, by my own personal experience that I had today. But I think that with your upcoming workshop is on the 24th of
24th, it's
August,
on a Sunday of
and
August.
from 10 to 5. And I can't even imagine how powerful that's going to be based on just the work that we've done in such a short period of time. So give us just a little background, a little bit of what will people experience? What will happen? Like you kind of, somebody say I'm going to a workshop, right? So I'm walking into the door. What am I going to be like when I walk in, and what am I going to be like when I walk out? So what are the benefits that I'm going to experience from being with you from 10 to 5 o'clock?
10 to 5, yeah. We're going to talk a lot about energy, because everything is energy, and we're going to see why some food have more energy than others. And if you want to, it's a choice. If you want to have energy, you eat the energy food.
Okay.
If you want to feel tired, have chronic fatigue and aches and pains, you choose the unhealthy food. So it's going to be a choice. Then
Right.
we're going to go into the tapping techniques. As I mentioned, it's very easy to learn the technique. Then there is the art, but people who come to the workshop will also get the workbooks, so they can continue
okay.
to study.
Okay.
And then we'll do some techniques of mind fitness
Okay.
and work a lot with energy. And I like my workshops to be fun, so we usually have coloring stuff, and we do movements and all kind of stuff.
Okay. So you said something earlier that really hit me, and I know for myself, I like to work out, and going through the diet, the program that I got to experience with you as well, and doing that myself, and now making different food choices. It's kind of interesting because it's only been a few days, but I can feel that change. And so are you telling us that basically how we feel and how we feel and how much energy we have, that's a result of what we're choosing to put into our bodies? Is it based on our body types? How do I know?
Well, I think a lot of people realize that after Thanksgiving meal, you're not ready to go run a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
You usually eat pretty much down, and there's different things. The health and vitality, or the perfect weight, yeah, it's food, but it's also movement. It's
Okay.
also about detoxing. It's also about connection with nature. And if you're pretty healthy, then you can choose the healthy food. If you have a challenge, then we go into your blood type, your metabolic type, your brain chemistry type, and different things like that. That narrows down what you should or shouldn't eat for a while. It's not going to be forever.
Okay.
But until those symptoms are gone and you're better, then you can start adding food.
Okay, so food is really the first choice that I'm going to make. Now, I know here at Zenus we have our own products, and I'm not going to go through a whole lot of that, but I want you to give me your experience on and what you found from like the Optimum Detox, the flagship product as a food, or really helping people to work through stress and just really have their body feel better, because I know that's one of the products that you recommend.
Yeah, it's a gentle detox that works all the time. And because we live in a polluted world, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, everything is polluted. So having something that helps us detox on a continuous basis, and it's an adaptogen, so it's going to help you to stay out of stress, to feel better.
Okay. So if I do that daily, will that relieve my stress? Will that help me not be as stressed if I'm doing that? And I'm just trying to figure out, because I understand for myself, and maybe there are people out there that are listening to us that experience the same thing that I experience, is that it's an emotional event will happen, and I find myself on automatic.
Exactly.
Will this help me? What will help me not to just be on this automatic, like, okay, here I go?
Well, it's a lot of training too. That's what the mental fitness training
okay.
is. So you don't go. You automatically, like you said, you go where you have been trained to go. But you can also make a switch and go differently. The Optimum Detox will help you to not react
as quickly,
as quickly or as deeply, or maybe you're not going to lose it all, because you're going to have a milder reaction to what happens.
Okay, because I do know that once you do have an awareness of what is really good for your body, that piece that you talked about, that I want you to spend a little bit more time talking about now, of that education, and that's part of what you really promote, because I know that when I'm reacting, I know it now, so I can kind of think my way through it. So what kinds of things do you do that help people have more education?
Well, I tell people first comes awareness. You need to be aware that you have a problem. Then are you willing to change? So awareness, willingness, that's where I come in with the tools and techniques that I have developed for over 40 years. I started studying psychology when I was 15 years old, and I have added onto it because of my own problems I had encountered. And tools, techniques, and action. Nothing works if you don't take action. And if you have all those, then you have success in your life.
Okay.
So what I do is I educate people. I teach them to fish. I show them how a reaction can put you in a certain track, but how to decide not to.
Okay.
And retrain the brain. We need to retrain the brain to do what you want instead of what it wants.
Okay.
You get to be the captain of your ship.
Okay. Well, that's the key to me, because it's we do develop those habits, and that's why I just want to remind everybody again to please go to the website www.takingyourlifebackstartsnow, because that's one of the things that's most important for all of us, is to have that experience. And if you have any time at all, then you truly want to experience a change, and you're in Las Vegas, or you're in a place where you can fly into Las Vegas, which is always good, especially flying in to Vegas on a Sunday, Monday, which is a whole lot cheaper than coming Friday, Saturday. Come to experience the workshop, which you'll find out more about on the website. So as we start to wrap up, I really want you, if you can, because I went out of order with your 5 keys, right? So, and I know that you talk about this all the time. So really wrap up for us the 5 keys. Spend a couple of minutes and just really bring all this together, because you said your title was to survive, or no, to strive.
The book
to strive.
I wrote was Overcoming Adversity and Thriving on planet
Earth.
Right. On here.
So tell us how that happens.
Well, happens
with the 5 keys.
Okay, well, if you want to be healthy and successful, the body is like the vehicle you have.
Okay.
So your car, you don't put vinegar or a bad type of oil. So why do you do that with your body? The car you can replace, your body you cannot replace. So take care of that vehicle first.
Okay.
And then the emotions. We all have emotions. I just met Dr. Schaller on YouTube. He's a French, no, actually a Swiss doctor, who studied tribes that had no disease and no war. So disease is just emotions that have been internalized, and wars are emotions that are externalized.
Okay.
If you deal with your emotions as they come up, you can do the tapping. He has different techniques. Then it's not going to hurt your body, and you're not going to be angry at the world and go after them. So the key number 2, the emotional freedom and the mental fitness, you kind of learn together, is get all what you have learned, the patterns that you follow, you can change them. You can consciously decide, okay, that was a pattern I followed, like buying a Ford. Are you going to buy a Ford in your next car because of your grandfather? No, probably not, because you became aware and decided, maybe I'll buy one, but you're not going to buy one without knowing why. You're going to consciously do what you want, instead of hitting the refrigerator, eating whatever, and then wondering why you're doing it. You're going to be in control.
Okay.
And then if you want to go deeper, then you use the imagery and the power of your mind in healing. I have several articles on my website that talks about the power of imagery. Dr. Rossman said the mind is probably the most underused healing tool that we have.
Okay.
You can change so many things, even physical things, with changing your mind, changing your belief. Some people recover like that from something. Just by changing their belief, they change their energy.
Yes. And
then the 5th key is encompasses everything. It's about energy. How to change that energy. And you change your destiny.
Well, I think the thing that, and we can close with that, because it feels like it sometimes when you experience a shift in your life, and something that's had control over you for so long now no longer has control over you. Exactly. And to me, when you talk about love, life, and miracles, that's nothing short of a miracle. You know, to have experienced the conditioning and then to then come to the awareness, as you talked about, to be able to move through that. So in closing, talk to us about how your work, and I really do believe it happens, you know, because I've seen things that you've done with me and other people, but how people can experience that, I like to call it that feeling of freedom, that feeling of like, man, you know what, I am in control.
Yeah, that's a wonderful feeling. And I think sometimes you have to go deep and not be in control with everybody and everything around you controls. And then you say, you know what, no more. So you become aware and then you seek solution. I have some of the solution, other people have other solution, but you can come to my workshop, go on my website and start seeking solution, because I believe we're here to enjoy life on this planet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you, and I enjoyed our time together, because I can tell you are very solution oriented, right? You're not. I mean, so and one of the things that I love about what you're talking about and how you work is that you truly are working your way out of a job. So you're not trying to get someone that has to continue to come to you over and over again. So I want to thank you for your time. I also want to thank everybody for tuning in, and really remember, as we were talking about the emotional trauma and emotional stress, to make sure that you have your optimum detox and that you're using it daily to really de-stress yourself and keep yourself in a really calm state. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Take care and have an awesome night.
Mother Nature has the answer to all the things we need. It is in the purest waters which flow out to the sea.